Hello, my friends, and welcome to another inspiring and empowering episode of the Girls for Greatness podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here today listening in to episode number 176. I am your host, Delia Perry, and you are in for a treat today, my friends, because I am speaking with another amazing warrior who is out there influencing the world and leaving her mark on the world in her own unique way. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Tania Vasalllo, the founder of the Courage to Be Happy, a community of independent spiritual women entrepreneurs who want to learn about money so they don't depend on anyone else financially. Since Tania launched her business with a baby in hand and working only 20 hours a week, she has been able to reach a six-figure revenue by her fourth year. And now she is imparting her wisdom to women around the world. Tania is passionate about empowering women to think bigger, dream bigger, and manifest more than they ever thought possible, all while creating a better relationship with money. Tania is all about empowering women to believe in their self-worth, to see themselves as enough, and to live that belief out in their lives. I am so looking forward to you guys all not only hearing her story about how she got into the work that she's doing, but to also learn how we all can create a life filled with more prosperity and abundance. So with that, Tania, welcome to the Girls for Greatness podcast. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and have this
Yes,
conversation.
yes, me too. Well, tell us a little about you, maybe a little where you are currently in the world where you reside, and maybe even a little about because this is something I kind of wanted to dive into. I was so curious after going through your bio, but how you came to the States and just that whole journey and what that was like growing up in the time that you grew up in Spain, which I know you'll get into.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was born and raised in Spain. My dad's Spanish, and that's why Spain, and my mom's American. So my mom went
Okay.
to Spain at the end of Franco's dictatorship, or he was still alive, and I was
Mm,
born at the end of his dictatorship. So that had a big influence on me and my upbringing. I had a great childhood, but we were, as a country, as a culture, in this transition from being under this dictatorship for decades and transitioning into more of a socialist country. And then I decided to come to the States in my, what was it, junior, second year, third year of college.
mm,
And I came to the States. I did come to the States beforehand when I was 15. I came for my junior year or sophomore year in high school. So that was like my first experience of the American culture and experiencing more of that
mm,
freedom that I didn't know I was longing for until I came in college. And so I came in college, spent 2 years here, and
mm,
then went back to Spain, but realized that I wanted to do my postgraduate back in the States. And that's
mm.
where I stayed here. I did my postgraduate in Miami. It was in art direction. I worked for many years in the advertising world, and especially in New York City, for
Wow.
these multi-million dollar accounts like Starbucks and Samsung and AT&T. But it got to a point where that just didn't align with me anymore,
Mm,
and the corporate world didn't align with me. So my husband, who's American and is also an art, was also an art director at that time, we decided to move back to Spain. So
mm.
I've been in the States for over
Wow.
20 years, but take away those 4 years that we were in Spain, where we launched our own business.
Amazing.
So that's after Spain, we moved back to the US, and we currently reside in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Was your decision to come back the second time, was that based more in terms of your career and what you wanted to accomplish, like having that opportunity versus in the States versus in Spain? Or was it, and you have family here too, obviously. So I'm sure that played a part as well.
Well, it's a great question, Delia, because we were in Spain. Most of my family is all in Spain, except for my
Mm,
sister that lives in the States. My
mm,
husband's family is in the Pennsylvania area, near
okay.
outside of Philadelphia. And so it wasn't because of family. I'll be honest. If
Sure.
family's listening, they're like, what do you mean you didn't move here because of us? No, Ben and I tend to be very much intuitive and just
Mm,
following our heart of
mm,
whatever is the calling. So when we wanted to quit our, high-end
mhm.
career jobs, well paid in New York City to move to Spain without any job lined up or anything. We opened up our own studio in Spain. Everyone in the family was like, are you guys crazy? Like, this is how you should do it. You should move to Madrid. You should live with your parent, with Tania's parents, with my parents, while Ben's learning the language, and you should work at an ad agency. We do things however it feels good to us,
Sure.
and usually against the status quo. So we ended up moving to Spain that first time without, like I said, without a job. And we just opened up a studio and we offered all kinds of creative services from
Mm,
branding,
mm,
advertising. We worked in the film industry for a while. So when it was time to come back to the US, I think we would have come back earlier. It was more a relationship decision. We
mm.
knew that it worked better for us as a relationship to
Sure.
be in the States versus Spain. And on top of that, I will share that we did it backwards. I think this is where we didn't get it right.
Mm,
I feel like if I had to compare both countries, the States with Spain, you're better off having a full-time job and employed in Spain by a
mm,
multinational company
mm,
because you get 30 days of vacation, you
mm,
get maternity leave, you get all these other perks, you get a full salary, you get, if you were to let go of the company, if they let you go, you get a
mm.
severance pay for every year you've worked. You get a 45 days of pay or something like that. Like,
Wow.
it's ridiculous. You get amazing benefits. The ones that are the least supported in Spain are entrepreneurs. You have
Mm,
to pay all these taxes on a monthly
mm,
basis. It's just not the right thing. And so we should have done it the other way around. Like, we should
mm.
have worked in Spain at a corporate job. And but then when you come to the States, I think the advantage that the States has that promotes a lot of entrepreneurs versus Spain. Like,
Sure.
there's a lot of tax benefits and stuff. So that was an important decision too, besides for the relationship, because we had met in the States, we both spoke the same
Right.
language. Um, we knew we wanted to come back, but it was interesting to observe this because working
Mm,
as, having our own business there, I mean, we were chasing down big companies to get
mm.
paid, and I'm not going to name them, but like in the
Sure.
film industry. So you can think about the
Imagine.
top,
Yeah.
yeah, companies, and like weeks and months, and we had the connections to try and
Wow.
get paid by them. That would never happen here. You take someone into the small courts or you send a
Right.
lawyer, and it's like, no, this is how we do business.
Right.
So it was a lot, it was a learning curve, but I think it just had to happen that way. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that question because
No,
I
that's
haven't
awesome.
reflected on that
That's
in over a
awesome.
decade.
That's so great. What year, I'm just curious, what year did you come when you were in college? What year did you come to the States?
Um, what was it? 92. We started, I think it was 94 to
Okay.
96. I came to
Okay.
the US and I came through St. Louis University, which has a program agreement with St. Louis University in Spain. So
Okay.
there's always like American students coming to the
Yep.
Spanish
Yep. Yep.
campus and vice versa.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's good to know. I was just curious if it happened to be the same. I was in Spain in 97. That was my last
Um,
semester of college. So that was really cool. That was really cool. That was an amazing experience.
where were you
Um
at? Just out of
I was
curiosity.
in Madrid. Yeah, I was in Madrid.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So that
and what
was
university were you with?
it was called Tandem Escuela, and it was an
Okay,
international school that was like catered to students that were coming over to do a semester. It wasn't like the University of Madrid, but I know that there are people
got
who've done
you.
that too. So yeah, it was truly tremendous experience. But no, that's really cool. So I love
I
hearing
love
about
it.
the differences. Um, so you came back and you obviously had this business. How long did that, I mean, continue until you started to kind of break off and do
To
what you're doing now? Yeah.
Yes, that's another great question. And I think it's an important one too, because in that journey where we had Skybat Studio was called, we had our agency together. The problem was that you had two creatives trying to run a business without any business training or any business background.
Mm.
And so what now looking back where I see the mistakes, and it's all learning, you know, like I don't like seeing
Right.
things failure, you know, this is all, you needed that to get to the next step. What I realized is, like I said, you had two creatives trying to run a business without a third creative director overlooking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
um, it got to a point, you know, it was a lot of the feast and famine. I think a lot of people
Mm.
can identify with this. You know, some
Sure.
months were awesome and you're like, yes, we just landed that awesome client that's going to
Yeah.
get us through for I don't know how many months. And then there were months where you're just freaking out because you're thinking you have to go get a job because your savings is dwindling, you know. So
Right. Right.
if you can't live with that anxiety, entrepreneurship is not for you, you know. And so
Right.
we didn't know how to do this. What happened was, at one point my husband said, I don't think I want to run the studio anymore. I think I just want to focus on my art. And I felt like that's great because it's either going to be the business or our relationship. And I don't want to end up in divorce. So I'd
Right.
rather sacrifice the business. But it also left me in this place of soul searching, you know, like, well, what's next
Mm-hmm.
for me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of these multi-passionate people that has
Mm-hmm.
a gazillion degrees. I know many of us can identify with this, you know, like I've done any and every certification you can think of in the self-development world. I've
Mm.
got it, you know, like I've been certified with Louise Hay, with Jack Canfield, with Landmark Education. I got certified with Coach U when coaching wasn't even a thing at the early 2000s, you know, like, so like I had all these degrees. I had
Yeah.
also worked as a professional photographer, which I also had my degrees. I was an art director. So it left me in the space of what do I want to do and who do I want to serve? You know, like
Right.
who's my audience? What am I doing? Am I going back to art direction? Am I doing life coaching? Am I doing like what do I want to do? And there was a lot of soul searching for a couple years. And in the interim, my daughter was born. So I'm
Mm.
add on the layer of you're a new
Mm-hmm.
parent. So when she was around 18 months old, my sister invited me to a sales like event. It was like a 3-day event out in San Diego, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm a creative. I would never go to a sales event. You know, like I'm
Right.
picturing people dressed in suits, boring as hell. You know, I'm like,
Right.
I'm never gonna go to something like that." But she kept on insisting. She's like, "Look." All you have to do is get yourself your flight because I already have the hotel room, you know, the event's paid for, you're coming for as a guest. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go because I'm a brand new mom. I'm exhausted. The worst that can happen is that I don't like it. And I end up going to the pool and just
Right.
the pool for 2 days.
Right.
And I went and it blew my mind. It was not at all what I expected. And by
Wow.
the third day, the person that was hosting this event made an offer to join one of her masterminds. And it was an expensive mastermind. My job dropped, you know, it was like a $20,000 investment. And I'm like, oh my God, I really want to do this, but where am I going to get the money for this? You know, like, how can I even afford something like that?
Right.
But I just knew deep down the calling was there. It was scary as hell. I put down the deposit. I think
Mm.
it was like $1,000. And then I said, I'll figure out the rest. And I'll figure out, you know, where am I borrowing the money? Where is the money coming from? You know, like, how am I going to make this work? But this is the missing piece. It's like when they say that when the
Mm.
student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So that whole next year, because it was such a big investment for me, I know some people might think like, oh,
Right.
that's not a lot. For other people,
It's a lot.
for me, it
Sure.
was a lot. So I showed up to every single call. I implemented, everything I learned, I started putting into action. And within a couple years of that, like I launched my business. At that time, it was called The Courage to Be Happy. We're transitioning now, and it's now called The Courage to Be. I applied all the systems,
Mm.
it was kind of like doing an MBA, you know, like a
Sure.
master's degree in business that I
Sure.
never had.
Sure.
So if you really look at it in perspective, I didn't spend 100 grand in an MBA or 200 grand. Instead, I just put down the
Right.
20,000. So that was an interesting perspective of shifting that mindset. But what it really opened up a whole new world into the entrepreneurship world. I never considered myself an entrepreneur before that. And within the first 4 years, because my daughter was so young, I could only work 20 hours a week. I wish I could put more hours in,
Right.
but I had to
Right.
focus on being a mom. And only working 20 hours a week, 2 years of those, and that in between, I was off social media. So I was not even on social media. I was able to grow the business into a 6-figure revenue. And that was huge for me because I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like I hit the milestone. Like you follow the systems, you do what, like they're
Right.
teaching you and you can
Right.
you can achieve this. So yeah, that's been I started teaching branding and my business model was based on live events.
Mm.
But I started shifting that because I got really curious about money and our relationship with money. Because as much as you can teach business
Mm.
strategies, and I was teaching business
Mm.
strategies, I started adding a component of money mindset. Because what I was seeing is
Mm.
that there were entrepreneurs out there that were, even if they were making 6 figures, multi 6 figures, there was something blocking them because they'd end up either losing the money
Sure.
or their expenses would grow up to the same amount that they were making. So they were still like not making the money
Yes.
that they wanted, or they felt insecure. And I
Mm.
needed to go through my own healing and my own money journey. So I started again surrounding myself with mentors, with teachers, with coaches around the money aspect of things and understanding the psychology, our relationship to money. And I started teaching that too. And I've become so excited and passionate about just money touches everything. So we
Mm.
need to learn about how we relate to money. There's no way, around it.
Sure.
So that's my new path where I've been with regarding money and money mindset.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know one of the things that you kind of tackle or address is kind of how we are brought up, I think, to think one way about finances and money and how that plays into then our life as an adult and how we live that out and how we develop our own money mindset. I'm curious for you, like what that journey has been like maybe from how you were brought up to like the shifts you've made into your money mindset now.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Um, we all have money blocks. We all have money beliefs, and these money beliefs were passed down to us from the moment we were born until about age 7,
Hmm.
because that's at age 7 or 8 is when our conscious mind gets developed. Before age 7 or 8, we don't have a conscious mind. We're not able to discern, to rationalize things. We're just
Right.
absorbing. That's
Right.
why they say kids are like sponges,
Right.
because we're just putting all the information that we're sensing, whether it's through sight, smell,
Mm-hmm.
experiences, touch,
Mm-hmm.
everything, we put it into our subconscious mind. So it's in there, it's in the hard drive
Right.
of our brain, but it's all in the subconscious mind. And what happens is from age 7 moving on, because we're now developing the conscious mind and we can rationalize and we can understand things, what we're doing is looking for evidence to reinforce those beliefs
Right.
that were given to us or that were passed down to us. So what kind of beliefs? Who passes down these beliefs? So to start off, it's no one's fault if whatever our money beliefs are.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
really is not our
Mm-hmm.
fault because we have no control as a little 0 to 7 year old kid. So who passes it down? Our parents, our caretakers, our teachers,
Mm-hmm.
our places of worship, the
Mm-hmm.
media, the culture. So just to give you an example, for me growing up in Spain, at the end of a dictatorship, very patriarchal
Mm-hmm.
country. On top of that patriarchal family, because my dad's 7 brothers and 1 sister, and she's the
Mm.
youngest, there was certain messaging that was given to me or that I was perceiving around me. So
Sure.
one example is just at the age of 3, 2.5, my sister was born, and they thought that she was going to be a boy. They even had a name picked out for her. It was supposed to be Sarah Hill. And when
Mm,
she came out and it was a girl, I could sense as a 3-year-old or 2.5-year-old the disappointment in my dad.
mm,
It was just kind of like, oh, like he was expecting a boy because boys had it better, boys have it easier, whatever
yeah,
the reason was.
sure.
So I started acting like a boy. So from age 3 all the way up to like my young teenage years, it was everything boys, played with cars. Like you'd never see me playing with a doll. All I'd wear were
Mm,
pants. You could never get a dress on me. But also I started reinforcing it with the messaging that I was getting that boys had it easier,
mm,
that boys get more
sure.
than girls. And so I carried that out for a long time, like I said, with teenagers. That's just one example. Another one of like a money blocker, money belief that I had was you have to work hard for money. My
Mm,
family wears that as a badge of honor. My
mm,
dad has
mm-hmm,
always been so proud of like how hard he worked. Like if he'd win an award of some sort throughout his
sure.
career, or he'd get a raise or something, I'd be like, oh my God, congratulations, Dad. That's awesome. And it was always answered with, yes, but I had to work really hard for that. Or look at that person. That's why they reached that success. Or that's why
Mm,
they make so much money because they worked hard for it. So what you have to do is you have to deprogram yourself
mm,
from that, because that's not the truth. That
right.
was the truth for him. And then it was the truth for me because that's what I was mimicking. That's what I was learning. And then as I grew older, I was looking
Mm,
for the evidence to back that up. So any person you see that works hard, you're like, oh, see, that
sure.
reinforces that belief. And so we really have to pay attention to what those money beliefs are for us. And for every person, it's different, because of your
Yeah.
upbringing, your
Yeah.
culture, your parents. So working with all the clients that I've worked with, I see like the top money beliefs that hold us back are I'm not worthy
Mm,
of money or deserving of money
mm-hmm,
for whatever reason, whatever they
mm-hmm,
told you.
mm-hmm,
People with money are bad, or people with money are corrupt, or some version of that, like money's the root of all evil. I mean, how many of us grew up with that expression,
mm-hmm.
So it's like, so think about it. If people with money are bad, or people with money are corrupt, or money is the root of all evil,
Yeah.
and you're someone that's religious, and believes in God or something like that,
Right.
if you've been given this belief and you've never questioned it, or you've never done the work that you need to do questioning it, what happens the moment you either inherit a ton of money, you get a bonus, you get a raise, you make a ton of money from a launch and in
Right.
your business, whatever it is, you're going to immediately sabotage that by either attracting a huge expense. Maybe you get an IRS bill, maybe you get a health bill, maybe your car breaks down, and suddenly all that
Right.
money that you made goes right out the window. And you're doing it because you have to know that you have to take responsibility of your actions.
Right.
You're attracting it in a subconscious way. It's not like you're deliberately sitting down and saying, oh, how can I lose all this money? Some people might. I've known of people that have
Sure.
inherited money and
Sure.
they just feel so
Sure.
weird because they haven't done that work, that they're like, I want to give it away. I don't want this with me because money's a root of all evil, or people with money are bad and I don't want to be bad. So might as well just let go of it. So we do this in a subconscious way. Most of us, it's not conscious. Or even like the working hard.
Mm,
That's another one that I still carry. And I've
mm-hmm.
been doing this work for decades. And it gets easier. That's what I'll tell
Yeah.
everyone. It does get easier. You catch yourself much faster. And I will also say that doing your money work and healing your relationship with money is not a one-stop shop thing. It's an ongoing process that
Sure.
you will be working on for the rest of your life.
Sure. No, that's important. That's important. And I know I've had a few guests on, since the start of the podcast that have talked about money and finances in different realms. But I think, you bring up some great points just about how, I think it is important for us all to, think about our own relationship, with money and how we view it, how maybe we've been influenced by others, like you said, and, maybe how we can shift some of those things that are hindering us. I'm curious for you, what you've seen with, the clients you've worked with, the women you've worked with, maybe in particular, um, just in terms of their obstacles, the things that have hindered them, the things that you see the most in terms of, women and money and how they view money and all of those things.
Yes, the top ones again is money is bad or some
Mm-hmm.
version of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're working hard for money too. Many of us have had that, and
Mm.
especially for women because of patriarchy, and the
Yeah.
systems have been set up for men. It's almost like we have to prove ourselves and work harder
Harder. Yeah.
because we have to prove ourselves. And so it's kind of like, let me go out and do, like, we almost like over prepare, and we don't feel confident enough to charge for, the things of the knowledge that we might have. So it goes hand in hand with this
Mm.
belief that you have to work hard for money. And so there's a working hard for money. There's the money is bad, I'm not deserving, because there's some version of that. Like you
Mm-hmm.
almost had to learn, you had to prove, and that goes hand in hand too with the working hard. It's almost like you have to prove why you're deserving of love, of abundance, of money. We're all deserving of abundance and of money. And the
Mm.
other one that I see a lot too is coming from this place of lack
Mm.
and scarcity. We tend to constantly be living in this place, in this mindset of there's not enough. Like
Yeah.
if I charge that much, to someone, then that means someone else is going to be left without enough money.
Right.
And I have several practices in
True.
my and teachings within my programs where I get them to shift from lack and from not enough to start seeing the abundance that's all
Mm.
around us. I believe that we live in an abundant universe. There's abundance of everything. There's abundance of water. There's abundance of animal species. There's abundance of trees. There's abundance of food. There's
Mm.
abundance of air. I mean, we don't go into a room and there's 50 people in the room and we're like, oh my God, let me not breathe so hard because that's going to leave the other 49 people without as much air in this room. So it's just
Right.
interesting and funny how we make up all these things about money and that aren't true, because we do live in an abundant universe. And I get them to start shifting and to start seeing the abundance, because you can't attract the abundance until you start seeing it. It's, you have to start spotting it. You have to start looking for that evidence that's against what you've been conditioned to think.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
that you don't want to think that way.
Yeah. No, let's talk about that for a second. So how would we, or how do you encourage your clients then to start looking at things from a more abundant perspective? I mean, where would that start? I mean, because I'm a huge believer in this too. I think in a lot of ways, for me personally, abundance and gratitude go hand in hand. And I'm just curious, like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, gratitude is a great practice. And I've been doing that, just having a gratitude journal,
Mm-hmm.
writing down, feeling the feeling, I think is even more important,
Yeah.
than writing
Yeah.
it down. But one of the places, and this is, I love doing this exercise. I came up with this idea, this term, I call it universe cash. And so I have my clients track the universe cash that they're getting on a daily basis, because where our attention goes, energy flows. You
Mm-hmm.
start looking at all the abundance that you're receiving on a daily basis, or aka universe cash. And
Right.
what's universe cash? Universe cash is like unexpected money, unexpected gifts, discounts. So start looking at that. It's just wrapped in a different
Mm.
paper. It's not wrapped in money like dollar bills or $20 bills. It just, you're receiving, but you're receiving in a different the package is still
Right.
the same because you're receiving abundance. It's just wrapped up differently.
Sure.
And so when you start looking at the things on a daily basis and start tracking it, and this is the exercise, this is a fun exercise I'll share with everyone, is set an intention at the beginning of the month and say, you know what, this month I'm going to track, if $1,000 feels like too much, say I'm going to track $200 and I'm going to manifest universe cash. I'm going to manifest $200 in universe cash. So you start tracking. Maybe the first day you go out and you're shopping somewhere and they're like, oh, you got lucky, this is 20% sale, and you are already going to pay $50 for the item and you're now just paying 30. Just jot that down. You would have paid $50. So write down that you got $20 as a gift. Then the next day you go out for lunch with a friend and your friend says, you know what, let me pay for it. I haven't seen you in so long. What do you have paid for that lunch? Look at that bill. It might have been $30 for the lunch. Write that down. So now you have $20 from the first day, $30 from the second day. And you start tracking it again, where our attention goes, energy flows. And I
Sure.
can guarantee you, with most of my clients, we set an intention, and when we're tracking it, you either match the same amount of money that you said you were going to make in in universe cash that month, or you will surpass it. And if there's any month that you're a little bit lower, it tends to be like by $1, by $5. It's
Wow.
not like $500 less or $1,000 less. And it's such a fun game to
Interesting.
start shifting your mindset with that. And it's so simple, but sometimes the simple things are like, I don't want to track that, because we're
Right.
more focused on our immediate, like, but there's not the money for here. There's not the money, like it's not in my bank
Right.
account. It's not the money that's not in your bank account is just a result of your past thinking. You have the power to change in the present moment the way you view everything, either through gratitude, like you're saying, like, oh my God, I'm so appreciative. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
appreciative that I got up this morning and that every body part is working well,
Right.
because guess what? I have family members and friends that are not doing good health wise. Or maybe when you twist an ankle or something happens, or you just went through a cold, you're like, oh my God, I'm so thankful now that I'm back to normal.
Right.
So when you can feel that appreciation, and then you can start focusing on the abundance that's around you. That's just one of the practices that I have my clients go through, but it's very simple, and
Mm.
it's just a matter of taking the
Yeah.
initiative and
Yeah.
doing it.
No, I love that. I love that. That's great. Those are great tips, Tanya. I love that. Um, I'm curious, because I'm assuming that, this whole idea too of abundance and prosperity, that, another big struggle for a lot of women is just feeling like they're worthy and they're enough, and that, they are deserving of, like you've said, a life that's abundant or prosperous. And, one of the things, I talk about a lot on here is, our worth, and how, this podcast is really meant to inspire women to start to view themselves as being worthy of living the life they were meant to live, however that looks for them, whatever it is that they want, that, it's attainable, it's reachable. They have to have that belief in their own worth. And I'm just curious for you how you've kind of tackled that issue with your clients, and just, I guess, what are some of the things that you try to impart to them as you are coaching them on that topic?
Yes, that's such an important topic to address, and for us to, again, kind of like the money um, is not a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
Building up our worth, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been suppressed, and it's also been passed down to us. It's
Right.
it's
Right.
scientifically proven that whatever your moms, grandmothers, other people, your ancestors went through, that is still in our DNA. So
Mm.
it's really important to understand this, that we want to break those cycles, and it's ongoing work. But a couple things that I recommend with my clients and exercises that I have them do. One is mirror work.
Mm.
And that came from one of my mentors, Louise Hay, she talks a lot
Mm,
about mirror work and just going in front of a mirror and look at yourself in your eyes, like directly stare into your eyes
mm,
and acknowledge
true.
yourself and say, I love you. You are amazing. Like, I'll get off this podcast. I will go to the bathroom at some point. I'll do my business. And then as I'm washing my hands and looking into the mirror, I will say, you did amazing, Tania. You did amazing on that podcast.
Mm,
Like, good for you. You're putting good work out into the world. So you want to give yourself words of encouragement, and this might be really hard if you've
mm,
never done mirror work, like to start
mhm.
doing mirror work, you might only be able to sustain saying, I love you, or you're great, or you're amazing for like 30 seconds. And you'll start hearing those inner critics coming out in the
Right.
background.
Right.
Like, who are you talking about? That's only the programming from when you were a little kid. Those are the voices of someone else. Could be
Right.
of a father, a mother, who do you
Hmm.
think you are, a teacher, someone else. So what you want to do is start building that muscle little by little.
Mm,
Maybe the first day you look in the mirror and you only look 1 minute or
mm.
30 seconds, but look deep into your eyes and appreciate yourself. Don't start looking for like, oh, look at the wrinkles I have, or look at the rings under
Right.
my eyes, because
Right.
that's where we tend to go. Like, bring yourself back. It's totally fine if you do that. I've done that too, but bring yourself back and be like, no, yeah, I do have rings under my eyes. It's fine. You're amazing. You
Yes.
are an amazing
Yes.
soul, and that's
Yes.
totally fine. And that's one thing. Another exercise that I have my clients do too is, in addition, if you're someone that has practiced gratitude and has a gratitude journal, I invite you to write down in that journal, every night. I write down 5 things I'm grateful for, and I always have it with a
Mm,
condition that it can't be 5 things that I was grateful for the night before, because if not, it just becomes very mechanical and you don't really appreciate it and feel the feeling. And I also, when I do gratitude, I write because I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z because, and keep on writing because when you write the because, that starts bringing you into that feeling. But the other exercise that I
mm,
feel is really powerful is to acknowledge and praise yourself. So you
mm.
can praise yourself every time you go
Sure.
and see a mirror, whether it's in the
Sure.
car in your rear view mirror and you're at a stoplight, or whether you're in the bathroom, every time you go to the
Right.
bathroom, wash your hands, look at yourself and say inside your head, because if you're in a public bathroom,
All
hey,
right.
maybe if you're in a public bathroom, you could do it too. And maybe you're inspiring other women, like, you
Right.
are amazing. But besides that, you want to praise yourself. And so I write down at least 3 things that I acknowledge myself for that day. And
Mm,
I'll write it in a specific way. I'll say, Tania, comma, I'm proud of you for being on Girls for Greatness podcast today. That was amazing. Like, you don't know how many people's lives you're going to get to touch with that.
mm.
Then I'll go to the next sentence. Tania, I'm proud of you for being present with your daughter this morning when she woke up and she needed you to listen to her,
Right.
because that meant the world to her. And just praise yourself,
That's great.
especially for things that might have been difficult, that might have required a little bit of courage, that were hard for you to do. Tania, I'm proud of you for getting on that call with that annoying client that doesn't want to work with you anymore, because you were able to bring some sense to them, like, and that took a lot of courage. The more you can keep on
Mm,
praising and validating yourself, you'll stop needing the validation externally. So you
that's
won't
really
need
great.
the validation from other people.
That's great. I love that. I might have to steal that one. I really
Please
like that.
do.
I
The
like that.
more people we
No,
can
I
affect
love
and
that.
women we
That's
can
great.
take care of.
No, that's great. So tell us before I kind of wrap up, tell us a little about where you're headed now and what you have coming up. Because I know we were kind of talking a little bit about this before, and I will always, you guys, as you know, have everything linked in the show notes. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks for bringing that up. And the first place people can find me is, I have a free guide. It's called Amplify Our Abundance.
Mm,
And you can just go to amplifyourabundance.com. And if you want access to resources, practices like we were just mentioning right now, of like validating
yeah.
ourselves, universe cash, anything to help you manifest your dreams, your desires, and to amplify your abundance, just go to amplifyourabundance.com. And because when you become aware of how much abundance is accessible all around us all the time, your life starts shifting. I've
Mm,
had hundreds of women experience, manifesting abundance. Actually, I have a signature program that's called Money Magic Miracles. And a lot of the practices that are in this guide are the practices that I use with my clients in our signature
mm.
program. And just to give you an example, we had in the first cohort 25 women, and in 60 days, they manifested over $1.2 million collectively. And that
Wow.
was just amazing to see. Like you can use some of these
That's amazing.
techniques and these practices and amplify our abundance. And you can, I have a challenge coming up. If you listen to the podcast before the first week of May, it's called Manifesting Abundance Challenge. If you
Mm,
want to come and join us there, you can come and join us there. And I also have my own podcast. It's called The Courage to Be. So we'll put those three things in there,
yes, for sure.
and please come and be part of my world too.
Yeah,
I'd love
no,
to.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I appreciate you saying that. Um, so my last couple of questions, that I always kind of go over with guests is tell me in 3 words who you really and truly are. 3 words that best describe who you really and truly are. Doesn't have to be a phrase. It can be 3 separate words.
Inspiration, courage, and freedom.
Mm, love that. Love that word freedom. That's so good. Um, Next question. Tell me one thing that you are currently working on in your own life to improve on.
My presence, being present with people.
Mm,
I feel we're so pulled in every
mm,
direction
mm,
with social media and just phones and staring at
mm.
phones and yeah, just consuming information and just not being present with others.
So good. Yes. We're a lot alike like that. That's probably the biggest thing I'm working on as well. So important. So important. And then one thing, last question, Tanya, one thing that you're proud of yourself for being or doing.
A great question. Oh, I'm so proud of myself for so many things, Delia, and I love that that's what came through. Like it's
Yeah.
not just one thing, and I'm so proud of myself for just following my intuition,
Mm,
constantly learning,
mm,
and just to grow. And this is a perfect point with this. I have a little mantra that I tell myself every day. And so I'm proud of myself for I'm constantly expanding my health, my wealth, my knowledge, and my creativity while
mm.
helping others do the same. So I'm
I
proud of
love that.
myself of contributing to the whole consciousness of this world and our humanity.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I can definitely see that. Thank you so much for taking this time today to chat with us and share your wisdom. I love what you're doing. I think, what you're addressing and the topics that um, that you're working with women on are so, so important. The whole area of abundance and prosperity and just shift to helping women shift their mindset. And that I think is truly awesome. I love what you're doing. And I know that, you're going to be helping so many more. And like I said, you guys, I will be sure to have everything linked up in the notes. So be sure you check that out. But thank you so much, Tanya, for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.